And because I think a lot of people have a misconception about Loud because it's obviously such an East Coast label.
It started here.
But it started here.
8360 Melrose.
And now was your first artist on Loud the Licks?
No, Twista.
Twista. So the Twista and the Speed, not Mobsters, right? Or was it just Twista?
Just Twista.
Interesting.
But and we had Tupac at the same time, right, Brian?
Yep. Apocalypse album.
2Pacalypse. Well, I wanted to talk to you because you also, when we were hanging out, I didn't know that Tupac was your roommate for a short time.
Yeah, so we would go on the road.
Well, I want the genesis of you and Pac's relationship.
It was he worked like he wasn't like he was a true worker. My first office before we moved to the big office, 8360 Melrose, we had an office at 704 North Gardner, right across Nipsey's Burger spot is there now, but it used to be a Johnny Rockets.
Yeah,
and we used to be right across the street, and the room was half the size, and it would be me, Fade, and Lisa, who ended up being Fade's wife.
Crazy.
And the girl who I moved out for, her sister.
Yeah.
And then Pac would come to the office. We'd all sit on the floor, smoke cigarettes, and ship out his records.
Wow, that's crazy. So he was like a client of yours, essentially.
Well, Interscope. He was signed to Interscope directly through Atron Gregory.
But then Interscope would hire you to.
They gave us our first retainer.
So your first retainer ever was for 2Pacalypse Now.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. It's interesting because Tupac is such I feel like he has so many eras he has a short life, but from a fan's perspective, there's so many like eras of like Tupac and how we kind of know him, right? Like by all accounts, I heard he was a hard worker and he was a sweet dude to deal with. Like he was a nice guy.
We never had a problem. I mean, Brian, when we brought him up every time to see you, was there ever a problem? Yeah.
That's crazy. Tupac was 17?
17 or 18, yeah.
Damn. And so how do you guys end up getting close enough to where he ends up crashing at your spot?
So we would go on the road from Thursday to Sunday or Thursday to Monday.
Just working the record.
Working the record. And then we would have to leave again on Thursday. So instead of him going back home, he would just crash at the house.
Wow.
And I didn't take him all. Like Fade would take him. Somebody would but he would always whenever they landed, he would just.
And at that time, your guys is probably in at these when it comes to radio or whoever's like, oh no, the kid from the Digital Underground record.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
that was our story.
That was how you kicked the door. No, you know, Humpty, this is the kid from the Humpty record. That's so wild, man. It's interesting. So you work with Tupac. That's your first retainer. Who's the first record contract where when the album comes out, Loud Records is on the back of the album?
Twista.
The Twista album.
Tongue Twister.
Yeah. And at that time, it's interesting because there was a real, I would say the Midwest was known for Bone Thugs. There was
there was no Bone Thugs on.
There wasn't. So
this is 92.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's funny because I feel like people get it fucked up because there was that weird rivalry between Twista and Bone, but it was Twista was before Bone.
Way before Bone. And I mean, to me, it was Twista and Common.
Yeah. Resurrection.
But they weren't, I don't think they were competitive with each other.
Common was very different too.
I mean, they were both out of Chicago. And
Common sonically was hella different.
Yeah. And right around the same time.
Yeah. Now, Resurrection's one of my favorite albums. Damn, so you go from Twista and then it's the Licks?
Then it's a group called Madcap.
Okay.
Out of Pasadena. And then the Licks. And then Wu.
What was and then E Swift was
he was with me. He was with me when RZA just showed up out of nowhere. We were in New York getting ready for something.
Breakdown, because obviously we just went to the Wu-Tang's Final Chapter tour, which was so amazingly sequenced. They did such a good job putting that show together. Because I was like, damn, 2 hours. There's so much records to do. They did such a good job. They come the beginning of that show, melt your face off.
Yeah.
You hear this music, it's unlike anything else, right? There's still nothing that has ever sounded like 36 Chambers. At that time, there's nothing that's like it. What was your initial like? Did you have to be sold on it, or was
I didn't have to be sold on it. Trevor Williams, he would end up doing college radio for us. Found it, gave it to me, and I was like, "What is
Protect
it?
Your Neck?
Protect Your Neck."
Yeah.
I'm like, "There's no hook." He goes, "The shit's fire." I called Jason Staten out of whatever he was out of, like Flint, Michigan, and it's lighting up the phones like crazy. And so I was like, "All right, cool." I'm trying to get in touch with RZA. He was Prince Rakeem at the time, and he's not picking up the phone. There's no answering machine. And then I'm in New York for my 31st birthday. I think we were having an album release party for Madcap, and they just showed up. And I was introducing. E Swift was up there. I was introducing everybody at RCA.
Crazy. And then Wu-Tang shows up.